Ever since the day that you went away, you went away.
Hi everyone, my name is Andra. Today we're going to be talking about a viral case related to an influencer named Arielle Charnas and how she got diagnosed with the virus that is going around right now. You can't miss it. And how she disregarded every single regulation about self-isolation, lockdown, just everything. She did not care. And hopefully from this we're gonna be learning how to use our privilege to set a positive example rather than a negative example. So I first found out about this from Diet Prada's Instagram account, and then I started researching more and more, and there were quite a few popular news outlets that covered this, and then I started looking for individuals who covered this, and I found the Twitter account Sophie Ross. I'm gonna be linking Diet Prada and Sophie in my description below, just so you can see my main sources. So let's get started. So Diet Prada posted on their Instagram account a post titled "What Privilege Looks Like in the Age of the Virus." And in that post there was a picture of an article, like a screenshot from an article where Arielle was taking us along to her journey of getting diagnosed, and then there was another one with this man whose wife had died from the virus, and he was refused a test to see if he maybe got it from his wife. And then we can see Arielle getting the drive-through test, and she's shouting out the doctor, tagging the doctor, and then, you know, the whole story about how she got the test, even though she did not supposedly meet the criteria to get tested, but she knew the doctor. And then there are articles about how some people are refused the test, including the doctors. The doctors are being refused the test so they can pass it on to people without anyone knowing better, because they can't get the test. You know, healthcare in America is very, very questionable and it's very expensive. So I live in the UK. We have free healthcare. We still don't have the free tests available for everyone, but we do have free hospitalization if we need to. If we're feeling very, very sick from the virus, we can go to the hospital. America is not an affordable place when it comes to healthcare, and unfortunately a lot of people are dying every day because they don't have access to places, to hospitals, to ambulances. I think it's like $1,000 to get an ambulance, or even more than that. I'm not too sure. But yeah, that's where I pretty much wrote the same thing. So I'm gonna put the caption somewhere so you can read it. If you wanna pause and check it out more carefully, that's fine. So next up we're gonna be talking about how she got tested for this. So as I mentioned before, she knew the doctor. I just look at my phone because I have the receipts. She knew the doctor. She had mild symptoms, so there was no need for her to get tested. She could have just stayed at home and quarantined like the rest of us. She plugged the doctor on her story, which is what people were offended about. And her husband posted a sponsored story on the way to the doctor, and Arielle herself unboxed and posted a Louis Vuitton purse sponsored post as she was waiting for the diagnosis or for the doctor in line or something like that. Like, imagine you are waiting to see if you are potentially with lethal illness, and you are just plugging your sponsorships left and right. Like, that's not normal. So I'm not too sure about that, the Louis Vuitton thing, but numerous people have said it in the comments for Diet Prada, so I do believe it. But don't sue me. Don't. And then she posted a post of herself when she got home and she was waiting for her diagnosis. So this was on the 17th of March. And she's saying, it's been 4 days since I started feeling incredibly sick. Each day the symptoms evolve into something else, and while I can't imagine how I'd ever catch the virus, I'm dealing with the weirdest virus I've ever had since Mona. I'm so happy my fever is gone, but my body pain that I'm feeling today is unlike anything else. And then she's like saying that she's gonna be posting stuff inside her apartment. So she's gonna be self-isolating. And she doesn't do that. We're gonna find out that later. On the next day, so this was on the 17th of March, on the next day, on the 18th of March, she announces that she tested positive for the virus. It should take a lot longer to get the results. I think now they are prototyping this test that is faster, but back then, that was like 3 weeks ago, I think definitely the test would have taken longer. And Sophie Rose herself on her Twitter says that her friend who tested positive waited 5 days before the result. So I don't know how she got it the next day, but let's move on. She wrote an update in which she says that she tested positive. Again, I'm gonna be posting all the screenshots. She's saying that she's self-isolating and getting rest and getting in touch with friends and family that she's been in contact with over the past 2 weeks. And then she's talking about her family. Her kids have no symptoms. Her husband is not well, same as her, so he might have the symptoms. And she's explaining the whole process of how she got ill, what symptoms she had. I think that's very good, very educational. I think that should be said. And it is good that she's trying to explain to people stuff like this. But then, a few days after that, on the 24th of March, she's posting TikToks of her dancing. So I thought, you're ill. How do you have the energy to post TikToks of yourself? It just felt very weird to me that you can possibly, if you're ill, you want to be in bed all day, not learn TikTok dances, and that shit's hard. Like, that shit. I tried to learn TikTok dance, no fucking way. Like, it's just difficult. So on the 26th, that was 8 days after she was diagnosed, rather than 14, which is what the doctors say, she left for the Hamptons. And when she went to the Hamptons, she put a description, like in one of her pictures, the caption was fresh air. Fresh air, what? You are literally positive with the virus. And you are going around and you're spreading it to people without a care in the world. Like, why would you do that? And actually someone commented something about how she's not the girl in the bubble. Like, what? She should be. She should be quarantining. And she received a lot of negative comments in relation to that, and I'm gonna be reading out a few. Her story about the virus is very confusing. I'm sorry, I have medical background, and what she does is completely against the rules how the person should behave while having been tested positive for the virus. And then someone is bringing up that they saw the nanny in a live that she did, and then someone saying you can still infect people 2 weeks or even more after you pass the virus. Please be careful and keep yourself confined. Yeah, she did not do that, did she? And why did you come to the Hamptons? We have become the next hotspot for the virus because all of you won't stop coming out from the city. I'm not surprised because I feel like every single celebrity has been doing the same thing. And then someone saying, can't stay in the air for 3 hours? Did they block off the elevator lobby, or did you all four wear masks? Asking for a friend in your building. Masks and gloves, but also they blocked the elevator and lobby. So she literally had to block the lobby of her building in New York to get out. So she's inconveniencing staff members just to get out because she doesn't like being stuck in an apartment. What? That's so wrong. Okay, so you tested positive for the virus, and less than 2 weeks later you went to the Hamptons and risked infecting others just so you could be by the pool instead of staying inside like the rest of us. Okay, lol, like that's true. I agree 100% with that. I'm stuck in a normal sized house. Like, I'm surviving, you know. I'm going in the garden a little bit, but other than that, I'm just stuck and I'm not complaining. And people are saying about they want to unfollow her, which I do agree with. And then, can you address why your doctor gave you preferential treatment for tests when you did not have a fever and weren't exhibiting classic symptoms as you had said prior to taking the test? I think a lot of people are questioning that. Yeah, a lot of people are questioning that, and the fact that she just went radio silent when people were asking this, that's making it worse somehow. What else? I don't understand the timeline. You tested on the 16th, got a positive result on the 18th. Today is the 26th, and you say you've quarantined for 14 days. I think she's quarantined for 14 days since she started having symptoms first. But that is still not alright, because what about your husband? Your husband might have got it from you later on, and it might be 14 days for you, but not for him or not for your daughters. Like, why would you do that? It's just very inconsiderate. And people are saying that in different countries she would have got punished by the law. Yeah, that is true. England is still doing the same things as America, so they're not that strict. But countries like Spain, Italy, you would get in prison for doing stuff like this. Currently, most European countries breaking a quarantine for the virus is a crime. In Italy, if you had the virus and have a quarantine, you may be going to jail. That is just my point. So inconsiderate. So yeah, I'm posting all the comments on the screen so you can read them. So after the video that she posted on TikTok, she's posting the picture, the fresh air picture that I talked about, and I thought Sophia Ross was really funny because she just called her followers bots, so I needed to include that because that's really funny. And then she's saying, I'm sure she's actually happy to get good organic engagement from this. I thought that's really funny because true, like I've never heard of her and she has like 1 million followers. I don't know who that girl is. Well, I know now, but that's not the right reason, is it? And then she's posting a picture of herself walking down the street with her daughter when she has the virus. Like, just stay at home. It's 14 days. You're not gonna die, honestly. And then she's doing a live on Instagram. And in the live, you can see the nanny that she's hired for her kids. And I think it's only like a split second, and then she moves the camera because I think she realized, oh shit, like, oh no, I did not mean for that to happen. And she's exposing other people to the illness is what I'm saying. That's very, very careless and just horrible. And then apparently her husband has made a joke saying, does the virus only affect attractive people? I mean, if it only affected attractive people, you wouldn't have got it because you're ugly on the inside, and that reflects on the outside so much. So I don't know why you're making that joke. It's not funny. People are literally dying. So she posted a lot of sponsorships, and she's complaining that she has no mirror. Like, oh my god, people are dying and you care about the mirror. Honestly, just it baffles me how this is getting worse and worse somehow. So she got only like a few questions about her loungewear, and she's already like responding, okay, because all of you have asked, okay, but what about all of us who've asked about how you're being reckless and stupid? Like, are you not gonna address that? You'd rather address the 10 questions about your loungewear. So then she's posted a picture with her and her daughter, and in that picture she's holding and kissing her daughter, which I thought, you have the virus, why would you expose your kids even more than they're already exposed? And her house that she's in is rented, so she's contaminating someone else's house, which I think just kind of makes it worse because that person did not consent to this happening to their house. And maybe they have infected other people on their way from New York to Hamptons, because obviously it's 8 hours drive is what Sophie Rosa said. I don't know, I'm not American, but I do assume that she's right, and that has been researched before being posted. 8 hours, you need to get gas, don't you? You need to stop to go to the bathroom, to do other things. Like, you would have infected someone for sure in that time. And the fact that the doctors, like, did she even talk to her doctor friends to ask if this is appropriate? Do you think they, they told her, okay, you can go? Because I don't think any real doctor would say that, knowing the situation. So many people in the comments have been asking her to donate blood because she's a recovered virus patient. And she said, I will when I'm 14 days symptom free. Wait, so you have not been 14 days symptom free? Why did you leave then? And they, at some point, her and her husband have turned off the comments. So, probably getting a lot of negative comments, and rightfully so. Why would you turn them off when you know you are wrong? Like, you just know it. So, next up we're going to be talking about other people that she might have exposed, and other than her nanny, which I brought up, it's also the Wi-Fi person, because she said that Wi-Fi has been installed after they went there. So I assume someone came and did that, and that was not okay. And another thing is, someone has mentioned that she went on the 15th of March to do a reading to her daughter's preschool class. And she supposedly already had symptoms at that time, because she mentioned that. And then she threw her daughter a party at the Museum of Ice Cream. And I'm just wondering, do these people know? Because these people should know that they have been potentially exposed to the virus, and they should have help to get diagnosed. And her sister has also done the same thing, which is, her sister literally moved houses when that happened. And she asked the movers to wear masks and gloves so she doesn't get the virus, but she didn't wear anything herself. So what if she was in contact with Arielle, and then she got the virus from Arielle, and then the workers are the ones wearing the gloves? Like, why? It's your fault. And then she's receiving negative comments in the same way that Arielle has. So I'm gonna be leaving the comments on the screen. You can read them. So throughout this time when she was in the Hamptons, her husband has been rude to people. So a lot of sources have confirmed that, with comments like, what about all the horrible comments your husband DM'd to multiple women who simply questioned your timeline? Where is his apology? The screenshots of him calling women dumb are all over Twitter. But you get to come on and cry and all is forgiven. What about your husband saying terrible things to fans? Protecting your family is your excuse to leave NYC from what? The virus? Again, missing the point, you are endangering other families since your family have the virus, also known as the point of quarantine. Your husband called the nurse a loser. Great job trying to save face. Like, the fact that her husband would insult people for simply stating their opinions is just questionable. So a fan actually wrote 2 stories in notes expressing their disappointment, and they said, I'm going to be posting the whole thing and I'm only going to be reading the relevant stuff. So she said, Dear Arielle Charnas, I've put up with you for a while now. I've put up with setting unrealistic body goals to young adults and teens. I've put up with discrediting, eating disorders and body dysmorphia. If she actually did that, then she's already a scum person. Like, why would you defend that? I've never heard of her before, so I don't know what she's referring to. But if that ever happened, then, I mean, That's questionable already. I've put up with your obliviousness to your privilege and your lack of empathy to those of different socioeconomic backgrounds. I can see that. She's done that with diagnosis, so I can see her doing that, like having a precedent of this whole situation. And then she's calling her out for justifying her behavior on professional opinions given by doctors you acquired through connections, and your privilege is reckless, selfish, and irresponsible. That is true, like justifying that. Yeah, the doctors, they're not to blame for you being irresponsible. Shame on you for disrespecting those who've been complying with quarantine in order to mitigate the threat. Shame on you for putting the elderly and the immunocompromised, like my loved ones, at higher risk. Shame on you for using your platform to encourage reckless behavior like your own rather than using it to protect and inform. Shame on you for portraying health as a privilege of the rich and illness as a disadvantage of the impoverished. I can't read that. Of the poor. I can't read that. And especially shame on you for nullifying doctors, nurses, and other emergency employees' sacrificial and selfless work with your actions. That is true. I work in healthcare. I'm a freelance interpreter for hospitals, so I translate for people. I'm not a frontline worker, but I do still expose myself to dangers. And the fact that she's so reckless is just pissing me off so much. And literally, her husband, he saw these stories and he responded, "You are such a loser, get a life. Cornell was a safety school, haha." So that's the university, I think, that she's in college, or I don't know, something, where she's studying. And then someone else posted something against Arielle, and her husband said, "Who cares, you're irrelevant. I would expect more from you. You don't have the facts and you had potential. Now you have to be blocked. You are just like the haters and gossip columns." Like, where is his apology? So this girl, she's apologizing, but where is his apology? So the 2nd of April was her apology. And oh boy, it took so long for her to do it. Like, she did a video of her apologizing, and I'm gonna be posting the video. It was literally crocodile tears. Like, she cries on cue, because if you're actually remorseful, you would cry before you hit record. It's like she hit record, and as soon as she did that, she started crying. Like, I don't believe it. I don't buy it.
Just wanted to come on here and say I'm sorry. I never in a million years wanted to hurt anyone, and we're not bad people. I'm sorry for anyone that I've offended or hurt over the last couple of weeks. We're just trying to navigate through this difficult time, as I'm sure so many people are, and I'm just sorry that I let down my community in any way. And just right now I'm trying to focus on my family because we've been receiving horrible threats. And I just felt it was time for me to share my truth, which I did, and it's now every effort to do the right thing throughout this process, and I just hope that you all can see that despite the mistakes that I had made. So anyway, I'm thinking of you all, and I hope everyone stays safe and healthy.
And then she posted like a formal written apology saying, it's a long thing, so I'm going to be summarizing it, but I'm going to be leaving on the screen as usual. I'm not writing this to make excuses, and I'm not searching for validation. I apologize to anyone that I unintentionally harmed in the course of my decision making. I've always had my critics, and I've accepted that. It's part of what I do. But this month, the critics' voices have been very loud, hurtful, and largely misinformed. How are you misinformed? We are just talking the truth. We're just saying what you've been advised to do and you did not do. I've also been receiving death threats against my entire family, including my 2 young daughters. If that happened, obviously the kids are not to blame for your choices. But that still doesn't justify what you did. I mean, I feel bad for you getting death threats, but how does that make you the victim in this situation when you've been intentionally exposing other people to the virus? At this point, all I can do from here is tell you how I came to reach the decision that we are very validly being questioned. The decisions that are very validly being questioned, Decisions that were often made behind the curtain of social media, and why I made them in the best interest of my family and my community. You did not. And then she's saying more stuff. When I started to share my personal health updates, it was done with the intention to keep a sense of normalcy during a time where everything felt upside down. When I was documenting what I was going through, it was because I didn't actually know what I was dealing with. I didn't know I had potential symptoms of the virus, because what I heard on the news was very different from what I was feeling. The virus was still so new and information wasn't readily available. If those symptoms were in fact the virus, I wanted to share with my followers what I was feeling in case it could possibly help others get in touch with the right health professionals or know they were potentially contagious. I knew I couldn't be the only one experiencing symptoms or thinking about what to do, how to protect my family, and what the logical next step should be. After tracking my symptoms that began on March 13, I noticing they were also beginning to affect my husband and a cherished member of our family and our nanny of 2 years, I first reached out to my pediatrician. I can't read that. On March 16th, because I was most concerned about my children. After speaking with her, she advised me to stay away from the kids as best as I could while I had a fever. It sounded like the flu to her, she told me. Being the anxious mother I am, I wasn't comfortable with a single opinion. In desperation, I reached out to a doctor I had previously met to ask for his advice. Okay, so you're saying about your kids that you were advised to stay far away from them. So what about the picture of you kissing your daughter? Because obviously you did not have fever at that point, but you might have still had the virus. So I don't understand your logic here. After sharing my symptoms, he said it could very well be the virus and that I was eligible for both tests through his practice. We count ourselves as being incredibly fortunate to have had such prompt access to medical care and understand that it is far from the reality for the vast majority of people in this country. I shared the experience with my followers because it's what I always do, and I had maybe naively hoped that others would be able to find available testing facilities near them. With my husband, our nanny, and me now all sick, there were not yet recommended childcare guidelines to help us figure out how to properly care for our girls. Our nanny, of course, had the choice to return home, but decided to quarantine with us as to not potentially infect others. So it sounds to me like your nanny is more responsible than you. And it also sounds to me like a good way for you to kind of truly show that you mean your apology would be to help people to get tested, like donate money. I'm sure you're rich, I'm sure you can afford it, so do help people. Like if you want to show, you have to practice what you preach. You can't just say, I'm sorry, I thought people had the money to do this, and then you do nothing about it. That's not fair on the people. And then about her nanny. She's part of our family and her help is of utmost importance. We would have kept paying her regardless. That's not what we're complaining about. We're not complaining about payment. We're complaining about her being with you and getting the illness. At the time, children were deemed low risk for contracting the virus, so I moved forward to best maintain a sense of routine, again for our girls. I completely acknowledge I made mistakes throughout this process. I was sick and scared, and even with our access to healthcare, there were and continue to be few answers available about the virus. When we got word on March 19 that I tested positive for the virus, I followed all our doctor's recommendations to a T, which were also the recommendations put forth by the CDC. So why did you leave then? If you followed them, how did you follow them exactly? Because you did not. Like, we can tell that. You left. You're not supposed to. It wasn't 14 days. My family and I continued to quarantine within our Manhattan home for 14 days from the onset of symptoms on March 13th. Did not leave the premises. Yeah, but it's not about the symptoms, it's about diagnosis, because maybe your husband got the illness later, maybe your nanny got it later. You are still maybe contagious. You don't know that. Once we properly monitored our symptoms and determined that we had no fever for at least 72 hours, all symptoms had improved, and at least 7 days had passed since our symptoms first appeared. It should be 14, not 7. But okay, let's move on. We decided to leave the city after several consultations with doctors who granted us permission. So I want to know, in those consultations, did you get tested again? Did you test negative? Like, I want to know that. Otherwise, it's not valid what you're saying. This was still 7 days after the CDC's recommended time frame to discontinue home isolation. New York City is dense with the highest number of cases in the US, and we felt that it would be safer for us to resume our lives while continuing to quarantine elsewhere. What? Why does it matter if New York has the highest number of cases if you are gonna be quarantined? Like, you wouldn't get it. It's not gonna come into your house and just break in and do it. And pass it on to you. I don't know, just stupid argument. That includes our nanny, who we love dearly and who has been with us every step of the way. We are and have always been committed to taking proper precautions, again through our ongoing conversations with medical professionals, to leave Manhattan without coming into contact with any individual from point A to point B. Our car had a full tank, we did not stop for any gas along the way, and had all essentials delivered to our home while always maintaining the appropriate social distance. The house we moved into is on a new, largely unoccupied street with little to no car or foot traffic. Besides us, there is only one other family currently residing on the block, whom we let know of our situation, again while remaining more than 6 feet apart, so that they could take the proper precautions. So you endangered one more family, and then you went to them and said, sorry, like this might be happening. And what do you expect them to say? Like, obviously they can attack you, they have to pretend they're okay with it. And the Wi-Fi guy, you didn't address that. And you didn't address whether you told people at your daughter's school. We have since taken every measure to ensure we did not and will not come into further contact, 6 feet apart or otherwise, with any other individual for the foreseeable future. All around the world we are learning to adjust to the realities of life during a pandemic. And my family has made the decision to do so in the Hamptons. I know that a lot of New Yorkers have made the decision to do the same, and that the decision has faced legitimate criticisms in its own right. So this is like a herd mentality thing. It's like, if other people are doing this, I should do it. No, you shouldn't be part of the problem. It's the same as saying, okay, people are racist or homophobic, so what does it matter if I am, because other people are doing it anyway? It's like, no, you should try to raise awareness and to be better and to lead by example. And you have 1.3 million followers, or at least you had when I was filming this. I don't know how many you have now, but I do hope they decrease, because you don't deserve to have this platform. You're only teaching bad things to people. You're teaching people to disregard the government's advice, and you're teaching people to not listen to the media, when obviously the media does have some fake news and stuff, but the media overall, if you know how to filter the information, is very useful. It's a very good tool, and it's a lot of education if you know where to look for it and how to filter it. And I just feel like you're a bad influence to people. I can only speak for my family when I say that our standing concern lies in whether or not we are continuing to put others at risk. We have learned firsthand that what happens after you first test positive for the virus, then complete the necessary quarantine, is still unknown. Yeah, so it is still unknown, but it is known that you need to be at home and you need to self-isolate. They have said that so many times. At this point, the fact that you're disregarding it is not because it's unknown, it's just because you don't want to listen. I'm confident this was the right move to reduce potential spread. Was it? I don't think so, but okay, if you're so confident. Continuing to be honest in light of ongoing disapproval is even harder. We are all human, we all make mistakes, including me. So I am glad you own up to your mistakes and you are realizing that you did mess up. However, this is not enough. There needs to be some consequence and there needs to be some restitution for what you did. You should donate money or try to raise awareness, or just do something other than cry in front of a camera, because that is not impressing anyone at this point. We are in 2020. People have been using this fake victim playing since ages ago. Like Trisha Paytas has been done that. We know. We know. My family and I are truly sorry for those we have offended for not appearing to be taking this crisis gravely seriously. And we are committed to making informed, responsible decisions moving forward. I'm glad to hear that. I do hope that you do that. And I want to see it. I'm looking forward to seeing it. And there have been some consequences for her actions, and I'm happy that this happened because she needs to learn. And I don't feel like she's going to be learning from just ignoring hate comments. So Nordstrom is a company that she has worked with, and they finished their partnership, but people wanted to make sure that their partnership does not happen again. So they did message Nordstrom, and Nordstrom replied, "Hello, our partnership with Arielle ended in 2019, and we have no foreseeable something navy collaborations. Thank you for your concern." So this was on Instagram, and they also replied to the same thing on Twitter, saying, "Thanks for bringing this to our attention. Please know that our partnership with Arielle Charnas ended in 2019. And then Arielle's company, Something Navy, tried to kind of save face and say, "To clarify, we enjoyed our partnership with Nordstrom and determined together to have our last drop at the end of 2019. As announced last August, Something Navy will launch as a standalone brand this year." Well, I look forward to seeing who's gonna buy from you. I feel like your brand is gonna suffer a lot, and that you should just accept it, because you do deserve this. Until you show that you've learned from it, you deserve to be punished. If we can see real progress, if we can see real proof, then I feel like people will forgive you, but we have yet to see any real attempt at making amends. And I thought this is funny. People have added to her Wikipedia page that she's an American fashion blogger, influencer, designer, and attempted murderer following her positive diagnosis, after which she went trotting around the state of New York with her entire family, ignoring orders to self-isolate. I thought that was really funny. And they did the same on her Wikipedia health section. They said, on March 18, she announced she tested positive for the virus. She was later charged with attempted mass murder for spreading it throughout New York City. So yeah, I'm happy to see that people are trying to punish her in their own way. I don't want to see death threats, doxing, anything like that, because that's not gonna solve the solution, but valid criticism is. Alright, so this is the end of today's video. I would love to know how you feel about it, if you feel like she's been punished enough, or if you feel like she needs to pay for this more, if she needs to do more to apologize, if you feel like self-isolation maybe is not as important as people are making it out to be. I would love to hear your thoughts about the case of Arielle Charnas and self-isolation in general, what's going on in the world. Like, I would love to hear that. If it carries on for much longer, I will be making some videos about self-isolation tips, how to survive being locked in the house. And I would love your support. I would love if you could subscribe, like, comment, share this. Anything helps. The channel is new. I've only made this channel now because I have a lot of free time on my hands, and it's something I've wanted to do for a very, very long time. So I'm still learning, but I have been planning to do this for a long time. So I'm happy for the opportunity. I'm happy that you watched. I am grateful. I'm also going to be launching a Patreon if you want to help even more. You don't have to. A subscribe is more than enough. But because of times being hard right now and me being self-employed, I would greatly, greatly appreciate that. But regardless, any kind of affirmation is amazing, and I appreciate every single thing. So if you want to see more commentary, advice, anything like that, I will be happy to make the videos. So if you have any ideas, don't hesitate to contact me. I have my Instagram in here as well, and I look forward to your replies to anything, your comments. I'm actually very nervous because this is my first video, so please, if you have any criticism, if you have any advice for me, that would be amazing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Ever since the day that you went away,